and John. Today is Tuesday, April 15th, 2025. We're getting close to spring ending and summer beginning out here in the desert. It gets really hot during the summer. And of course, we have our amazing co-host, Andy Wergadal. Andy, how are you doing today?
I'm good. It's a beautiful day. It's tax day, but let's not let that discourage us. But and I haven't done anything else. I've been working all day, all morning, so I don't have any news. I haven't read anything. I'm hoping you can help me.
Absolutely. There's a lot of big news stories today. I had the adventure of going to the DMV earlier this morning. We are sponsored this show by Virtual Synergy Inc. What if you could free up hours in your day without sacrificing productivity? Successful entrepreneurs know the secret. They delegate. If you're looking for an employee to handle your administration, there's no better employee than a virtual assistant from Virtual Synergy Inc. Virtual Synergy Inc. connects you with skilled human virtual assistants who handle your administrative work, emails, and scheduling so you can focus on what truly matters, growing your business. No stress, expert support on demand. Stop managing tasks, start leading your business. And again, this is the AI Biz Hour with Andy and John. My brother was listening and he wasn't really sure how all this works. We have a website, aibizhour.com. So that's AIBIZHOUR, the AI Biz Hour. And with Andy Wergadal and John, I'm AI John Allen, otherwise known as Johnny Bass, or AKA John Allen Sturger III. All three of them work. And it's a wonderful day. It is tax day. It's 12:03. We have some big news stories, Andy. Should I get to the news or should I just ramble on forever and a day? I think that means get to the news.
I'm trying to hit the unmute button. I'm in the background. I'm getting the AI Biz Hour stuff for the Jumbotron ready. I'm getting the live streams running. So yeah, hit me with the news.
All right. Well, first I'm gonna pepper our audience a little bit. Please grab the microphone. I see Timo is out there. Timo always has a lot of great information. He's in Finland and he works in the IT sector. He can tell us more if he chooses, but he's always very knowledgeable, knows about what's going on in the world of the internet and things, and is very immersed in AI as well as social media. We have Juan Carlos. We have who is just amazing. He has had a big news in his family lately. Super conscientious, really good communicator, and great at marketing. And I highly recommend, if you have any marketing needs, you reach out to Juan Carlos. We have fifthcolumn.sui. I've not seen you before. Stealth marketing. What do we got going on here? Anti-PR firm. I like that. Anything that's anti-social is good with me. Bespoken B2B IA automation solutions Web3 consultant. Well, I hope you grab the mic and let us know a little bit more about you. We have Miss Hughes, honesty, justice, and love. That is awesome. If you'd like to grab the mic, we'd love to hear from you. We have TVD Twan.
Hey, is it just me? But it sounds like you're Hey, John, it sounds like you're rubber banding and you're bouncing. Your mic's bouncing. Is
with AI and solar.
Can somebody?
Yeah, I'm totally rubber banding. Give me a minute, my computer.
Oh no, you're back. You're good now. Yeah, you're good now. So hit that. Sorry, I was trying to figure because my network's been going in and out. I just wanted to make sure we weren't going crazy.
I am trying to. I think I'm just gonna have to kill my desktop because it's being offensive. Yeah, we have TVD Twan, who does works in the solar industry with AI and loves it. You could grab the mic. And we have Dylan, who's creating an app sobriety app, which is he's doing a lot of coding on his own, a new coder, but creating and working out of that, which is great. So the first news of the day is NVIDIA announced on April 14th to invest up to $500 billion over 4 years in U.S.-based AI infrastructure, and that marks a pivotal shift in global AI supply chain. And today they say they're going to put all of their facilities in the U.S., the whole supply chain. Did you hear that, Andy? And that's kind of a big deal. I mean, I'm hearing mixed stuff about it.
Well, I think that's part of the current administration's goal, is to get everybody on U.S. soil to produce as much as we can locally. I mean, it makes sense if you're looking at a global supply chain. It's a whole lot easier if we make chips here in the United States somewhere. Like, I live in Sacramento. There's a factory, Intel factory, that produces chips on the other side of town here in Sacramento in Folsom. And it's a full functioning fab. They bring in the silicon, they make the wafers, they cut them up, they do all the things, they print the chips on them. They actually make stuff here, but they don't make them quite to the scale that TSMC or NVIDIA does. But putting stuff local, it always makes sense, right? It's like it's a whole thing. If the electric grid in the entire world goes down, who survives? The people that have food and can make food, and the people who have clean water and can make clean water. Everything else is second. And so the same kind of thing. Not trying to be a crazy conspiracy theorist, but just look at it from a resource perspective. If all the electricity goes away, you can't pump gas, you can't get stuff. Everything in the refrigerator goes away. Everything in the grocery stores go away in a few months or a few weeks. Then what? Then 6 months or 6 weeks, whatever from now, you have to be able to produce stuff. So take that mindset, expand it to a larger space, and all of a sudden you've got, how do I get chips in the United States? Because we already have metal producers. We can produce all of the equipments, the backplanes, the network cards, and a lot of the other components we can either source or create in the United States, but most of the chip manufacturing is done somewhere else. So it's a big deal that they say they're going to do that. But if I was NVIDIA, I would say I would put a fab, a production environment on every single continent. Maybe not Antarctica, but I would put one in Australia. I'd put one in Africa. I'd put one in Europe. I'd put one in Asia. I'd put one in North America. I'd put one in South America. Then you have a global production system that if any one plant goes down, you can consistently or you can continue to produce your product. That kind of stuff makes sense when you're selling the kind of crazy volumes that they're selling right now.
Yeah, well, I mean, the world's a complex place and people want simple answers. And so I think there is an audience for simple answers that are going to make people feel good. But you raise a great point. And yeah, if we're totally concerned about things, and I'm sure anybody who knows enough is. You would, have bug out bags, or you would have places everywhere that you could go. And if you were transcontinental, or you were able to jump from one continent to the next and have multiple things, heck yeah, you would want, infrastructure or something in each of those locations. But today there was a guy who said he was a big fan of the current administration, big fan of everything they do, and his e-commerce business is going to get slaughtered by the tariffs, and he's asking for some kind of thing. I mean, all this stuff takes time, right? You can't just manifest the supply chain out of nothing in a matter of weeks.
No, let's talk about something both you and I are interested in. That is guitars. If you want a new guitar, almost all of them are made either in Mexico, in Indonesia, or China. So that means you're not going to be able to buy a new Gibson, a new Fender, a new Squier anywhere without a tariff, because all those things are produced outside the United States. You can buy the American models, like you can buy, I don't even think Gibsons are made in the United States anymore, but Like you can't buy a brand new Les Paul. It comes from somewhere else. But like all the Fender stuff, except for the quote unquote American made and custom shop stuff, that's all made in Mexico, produced in Mexico, created in Mexico, assembled in Mexico, and then shipped. And in San Diego, they have these little factories. They call them maquiladores, which means dual factory in Spanish. And what they do is Barbie or Mattel is one of the most notorious ones. They produce all of the Barbies, the little toy dolls, and then they ship them into the maquiladores so that then they assemble them. They like stick the head on and put them in a new package and seal them up, and then they ship them off as assembled in the United States. They're made somewhere else, the injection molds or whatever somewhere else, and then they assemble them in the United States and they ship them as assembled in the United States. But the same thing is happening for chips, for computers, for laptops, for the mice that you're using, the keyboards you're using. They all are created with some amount of parts from all over the world. And that's, it's a global economy. So you have global economy, you have production, you have manufacturing, you have resourcing cost and everything else, wherever the factory is. Then you have shipping to some key location, then you have assembly. And then once you have assembly, then you have packaging. Once these packaging is done, then you ship them to the retail locations where we're sold, right? And right now, it used to be almost nothing, and now it's bigger, where instead of shipping it to a retail store in the United States, they just ship it to Amazon. Amazon then just ships it directly to our house instead of with another middleman. So again, back to basic principle, right? Shorten the timeline, remove the number of steps, and you get either a better product or a faster product at a better price. So yeah, all that stuff's going to be coming to play.
Yeah, we're going a little tangent, but we'll get back to the core in a minute. But yeah, I mean, I think, when I was a kid, which was many moons ago, there was very strict law. There were strict rules before things went and got published as news. You would have to have two sources that weren't anonymous, and it would be a verified story. And at the end of the news, there would be some guy came out and said, "I'm going to do an editorial." And that was his opinion about some news story. Usually they were kind of local news, what have you. But that's gone. That doesn't exist anymore. And so to get like verified information about what's going on is really, you got to read between the lines. You got to this, that, and the other thing. And then, like I was, OpenAI wants to have their own X or their own social media. Now, I don't know if you ever wrestled with chapstick, as my dad calls it, but it's it's got its own. It's one of for my experience, it's one of the least, I guess you would say, independent or non-opinionated places that you can get stuff from. So we'll see how all that pans out. But yeah, it's a full-time job trying to figure out what's going on, I guess is what I'm saying. Now, Timo, you got the mic. I'd love to hear from you. We can go to the news story, or if you have something to chime in about the NVIDIA and they say they're going to try to produce it here in the States. What's going on with Finland? Finland, does it have a manufacturing base for technology, or are you guys kind of dependent on the whims of other places? How do you guys solve those issues?
Well, we were the biggest tech giant before any of this mumbo jumbo happened. Nokia was dominating the cell phone markets back in the 90s and early 2000s. So before the Trojans from Microsoft were injected into that company and they destroyed it. And but other than that, we have quantum computing companies here. We don't do manufacturing because, Taiwan is the best place in the world. They have the highest tech. They have the smallest tools to produce those things. So I doubt USA will be able to do that in Trump's era, but maybe if they're highly focused on doing that, maybe they will get those tools available for you guys. But yeah, on Andy's point, an interesting study was done that if there would be the total loss of grid, 90% of U.S. citizens would die in like less than a year because everyone's so out of it when you're just so used to having electricity. So, so it's a very, very interesting thing now seeing all these AI companies building their own small modular reactors to keep their stuff running if something happens. So it's an interesting thing to see. Oracle is building them. I think they have already permits for 3. OpenAI with BlackRock and Microsoft have been trying to get a license. Same thing with Google. So yeah, all the big boys are building their NPPs now, or well, SMRs. But yeah, it's an interesting thing to follow what's going to happen. But those are still so kind of slow to build. They're not going to ship them in 1 year, so it's going to take some time. But they're doing it already, so they're prepping for. And it's pretty good actually because your grid is so outdated that it's pretty good that you kind of get them out of out of the grid eventually. But then again, then they can do whatever they want, and there's nobody stopping them if they go nefarious, like in all the sci-fi movies. One of them will.
Well, I really appreciate the Finnish sentimentality about future events I mean, I don't know if you read the book Collapse, but all of a lot of these civilizations that saw rapid population decline were all at the zenith of their powers. And yeah, if you're really dependent on electricity and the majority of your water is being pumped by electricity, you're pretty much about 3 or 4 days away from total disaster. Because if you don't have water 3 or 4 days, then we're pretty dependent on that. So
Yeah, and here it's like Scandinavia, Nordic countries here in Europe, Northern Europe. All the lakes have drinkable water, so like nothing's gonna happen. Everyone's gonna light up a little fire and go on with their lives, eat some canned food, and then start hunting. We're all old Vikings, so it's still in our blood.
I'm so jealous because really all you need is a valley with a creek. In the United States, there is one river, the Smith River in Northern California, right next to the Canadian border, that is drinkable water. One river in all of northern North America. It's pretty sad.
Yeah, well, like the Helsinki metropolitan area, our drinking water comes from Lake Päijänne, which is a huge lake in the central Finland section, and there's a tunnel where that flows through different kind of rock and sand beds underwater, underground in a tunnel, and it cleans it up like the rest of it. So pretty much just like gets a little bit of chlorine added to it, and then it's all drinkable. And we have a backup of a river that flows right through the city, and it's also drinkable with just a little addition of chlorine.
And it's not fenced off. You don't have armed guards to make sure people don't
Nope.
go and.
We go swim on those lakes and rivers, and it's just like it's enough good, like just human population. We're not dumping stuff into the rivers or lakes because everyone respects the nature here. Well, not everyone, but most of the people. So, like one farm doing rogue dumping of cow poo is not gonna destroy the entire city water reservoir.
It's yeah, and your culture is how old? How, like how far can you trace back the Finnish culture as kind of a unit? Just curious.
Well, let's see. It's a good. Well, Finland has been was kind of a backcountry of the Vikings, and then it's been a battleground between the Swedes and Russian Empire along the way. We've been we've been part of both empires, but the Finnish culture. Well, I can trace down my family somewhere around like 1750 or something like that. That's the earliest marks of my ancestors. So, but yeah, we've been around like the swamp people, like Suomi, Finland, Suomi, which is like a swamp land because there's a whole lot of swamps and lakes here. So that's where the our local language name for this country comes from. But yeah, it's been a it's been populated since the Ice Age.
So you guys are not concerned about uh, Skynet coming and doing whatever. There's, I mean, you guys have concerns about internet and stuff like that, but you guys aren't. But I mean, a lot of people are going around unconscious. But it sounds to me that certain places have less to fall than others in case there were a big disruption. But there's always I don't see that happening. But I'm sure that's what they said on Easter Island before that place went. Whatever. I'm kind of going on tangent. Andy, can you save me, or Timo, please? Let's find some way back to AI.
Let's just go back to the negative. Well, okay, what we started with, NVIDIA is going to post stuff, build things in the United States. Cool. I kind of took us off the rails, so let's go back to the news and then let's get to some hands.
All right. Yeah. Please, somebody raise their hands. Save us from ourselves. So, NVIDIA, yeah, they're talking about bringing it back to the United States, or having 100% of their supply chain in the United States. Geopolitical drivers, the Trump administration tariff policies, including a threatened 32% tariff on Taiwanese goods and up to 100% on non-U.S. chip makers, have pressured companies like NVIDIA to shift production stateside. President Trump claimed credit, calling it the Trump effect through the Biden era Chips and Science Act, and provided
Yeah. Okay. But what's the next news article? We already know about that. We just talked about it.
All right. The next one is that OpenAI releases its 4.1 family of models, an incremental upgrade over previous versions, targeting developers with enhanced capacity, encoding, long context comprehension, and cost efficiency. This launch reinforces OpenAI's leadership in the AI market with fierce competition from rivals like Anthropic and XAI. I mean, if you do the research, OpenAI is far above all the other LLMs in terms of people searching for it and using it. I have not. I canceled my Chat GDP because I found something that I prefer much better than it. But there's a lot of people that really swear by it in the sense that it keeps. I was able to download all of my history with it and all my prompts, and then upload it to the other thing I'm using, so I didn't lose any of that. But I can see, because of that feature, that people that have been using it for a long time are really reluctant to leave it. That's a lot of what I hear. Business strategy: OpenAI's focus on developers reflects a shift towards monetizing AI through APIs and integrations rather than consuming consumer facing products. The lower costs and faster processing aim to capture market share from competitors offering similar large language models. The AI market is crowded with Gemini, Meta Llama, X Grok, vying for dominance. What are your thoughts on that? And Andy, do you continue to use OpenAI, or you find yourself using other things besides that?
I use OpenAI because I've okay. Chat GPT is going to become like a Kleenex or a Xerox or Google. It means the thing. Google is just search engine, right? There's a whole bunch of other search engines. Kleenex is just tissue paper you use, but Kleenex became the brand. ChatGPT is just the brand that most people are going to use. They just happen to be first and best. And because of that, they're going to get the biggest market reach. But as far as actual LLMs, I have LM Studio on my computers. I have multiple versions of it, and I run multiple LLMs privately on my own computers and building some API connectors to other things. As far as generating content, I've trained custom GPTs. So inside OpenAI, you can create custom GPTs, and then I just train them and iterate them to produce better and better content that sounds more and more like me. I started messing with Poe. Somebody was on the call yesterday that said they used Poe. Oh, it was Jack. Jack said, "Yeah, I just used Poe," and I called it up and did that. I didn't even know about Poe, so I signed up for that one. And I have a list of a handful of ones. Perplexity for current real-time internet searches, Gemini for things, Claude for things, even Mistral I use for certain content generation and a different perspective of stuff. So I use a whole handful, and I didn't even mention all of them. I'm just, those are the ones off the top of my head. But essentially, there's the QWEN architecture and the Llama architecture, and everything else is built on top of those two architectures, various versions, including, DeepSeek and all. Yeah, well, I could just list about it. It's just a list. But yeah, it's a whole bunch of stuff. Eventually, there'll be a couple models that win.
Yeah, I mean, Timo, please, what would you like to add?
Yeah, Andy, have you tried the drainpipe.io built by Dominic Romano?
Yeah, sort of, but no, not really. I mean, yes, I know of it, but I haven't really played with it, so I should put that on my list.
Yeah, I've been hanging out with him on his AI spaces a lot because he does the very late night evening for US folks, but I've been sitting on his spaces a lot during daytime here in Europe, so I've been listening to his. He's been building it building it in public for more than a year, so it's been an interesting thing to see.
I think sorry, John, the most interesting thing is that, so in software development, we went from creating individual standalone applications, Windows 3.1, Windows for Workgroups, and then we added them, then we connected them to other things. And that's the same thing that the LLMs are doing. They're starting with ChatGPT can give you a bunch of answers or whichever one. And now they're saying, yeah, but you can connect it to this other thing and this other thing and this other thing. And as we mentioned in the past, I still firmly believe, I mean, someone fight me, tell me when I'm wrong, but these LLMs are going to end up being specialized. There's going to be a specialized LLM for dentists. There's going to be a specialized LLM for cancer research. There's going to be a specialized LLM for orthodontists. Orthopedic surgeons, right? Bone doctors. And then another one for, blood diseases, and another one for this and another one for that. And even to the point where if you have a specific disease, you're going to have access to some LLM that has everything they can possibly put in, so they can use a lens to look at all the data through that one lens, as opposed to the multimodal models like right now, ChatGPT, where you can use it to create code, answer a physics question, give you advice on social media, and then tell you how to do a marketing plan. That's a multimodal, all the answers, and then make a picture for you. I think that eventually they will become specialized one. This one will do video. This one will do audio. This one will do, will train your voice. This one will write your manuscript. Then the next one will read it in your voice. And, I think that's a much more likely scenario than anything else. I don't know if I'm right. I figure I'm kind of in the right direction, but I don't know if I'm exactly right.
Yeah, well, if you think about it, DeepSeek is already using the MOE, which is the what's it called? Was it mixture of experts? So it has like these little small trained or fine-tuned
Yeah,
experts, where it splits your prompt. If you have a long prompt, there could be an expert that is taking care of some of the content that you are asking about, and then another expert, and that's why it's more energy efficient than the US-based LLMs that don't have that, as far as I know.
yeah, they're calling that agent swarms. So as agentic AI, where you're asking one LLM to do multiple tasks in multiple sequence of activities, it's then that is then orchestrating a swarm of other little agents to go do a specific part. It's basically the exact same thing we do in programming, except instead of programming it, we are asking it to infer the question and then infer that those are the steps of the answer. And so the inference models, which is the 4-bit, 8-bit, 12-bit, whatever of the quantization of the LLMs, if you look at the model numbers, usually there's a type like Mistral version 2.7, 1B, which is 1 billion parameters, and then 4K, which is or 4, which is the quantization 4Q, 8Q, 12Q. That's a quantization number that provides the inference model. That's how the names are set up. That's what those things mean. And so I hope, John, I hope you get to this, but is it Blackwell or Blackstone architecture from NVIDIA that came out with a 1 trillion parameter training model with 12-bit quantization, which is like the biggest thing. And because of the way they've done the architecture, it's 25%, it takes 25% less energy and 25% less operational cost, which I am in my brain thinking that what that really means is instead of 100 GPU chips, it can do the same amount of processing with 75 of them instead of 100. So that's the only way you can make electricity less, is if you use less processing, because of the way assembly architecture works, where you allocate the request and allocate the memory and where do you put it, and you have to get down to the Fortran assembly level to figure out how all those things are working. But the only way to have less electricity is to use less number of steps, right? Just instead of 10 steps, 7 steps. That'll reduce your cost. Anyway, back to you, John.
There was a post today, I forgot who posted it, but was saying that they were using LLMs to optimize the LLMs and the algorithms, and that they were getting superior results to anything that a human was doing. And yeah, when you add in the processing power, and if you specifically say, we want the end result to be a version that is using less electricity, or that is taking less CPU power, what have you, it can do that pretty good. And back to the other point about the specificity of LLMs, I was on a late night AI space the other day with Mr. E, and through his help, I've been crafting some pretty powerful prompts. And with prompts, now you can create agents by just directing prompts properly. Like, you can turn an LLM into something totally different if you have a very high level prompt with exactitude. Now, the thing that what I was doing was kind of general, but now I'm hearing that really amazing results are happening where you turn the prompt in front of, instead of general output you want, into something extremely specific. So that would be, Juan Carlos is really amazing about breaking down all of his tasks with his jobs into repeatable little systems. But if you do that with your prompting and be very specific about it, you can turn an LLM into something quite more than just what you think the LLM is. And it doesn't necessarily have to be formalized into an agent. Timo, you want to add to that?
Yeah, I'm not sure if you guys have been discussing it because I haven't been on all of the spaces lately, but the OpenAI has a free academy now. So if you just search for OpenAI Academy, there's like a prompt engineering course for free and whatever, and just like short explanation. So if you're new to the scene, you can go and check that out. Also, the Google AI Labs, they have I haven't tried it, but I've heard about that it's pretty uh, intuitive to build agents with that. Their new like tool to build AI agents. So it's like even a lot better than the Anthropic MCP, the Claude MCP that came out like a month ago or something.
I did not know that. That's awesome. I'll look it up.
Yeah, and the Google also has like a prompt engineering course for free. So it's all in their new. I know people have mixed feelings about Google, but they have the most data anyways. So I think they're just coming back from the back curve and now taking giant leaps towards the leaders. But yeah, there's a whole bunch of free stuff to go and look for that just came out like a week ago or something. So it's pretty nice.
Well, and Google has all the Gmail accounts. I mean, Google has a huge amount of data and abilities to train things based on, everybody, their whole Google Drive framework and everything else. So I'm sure they're able to excel on things that a lot of other companies just don't have the wherewithal, the ability to tap into. I don't know exactly what they can and can't go into, but I would imagine that they can at least use all that for synthetic data to go drill down and create all kinds of solutions. Timo?
Yeah, the I'm testing the Gemini 2.5 has a free month to test for each Google account you have, so you can basically as long as you create Google accounts, you can you can use that. But I don't know if they track that you have multiple accounts, but so far so good, and I think it's pretty good, especially if you. I built a solution that it just like gave me step-by-step instructions how to never touched Google Cloud. Just gave me instructions how to hook up my Gmail account that I'm using for newsletters. I have a Gmail account that I just sign up into newsletters, and I think it's now free. I first hooked it up into OpenAI API, but I think the if you do the advanced Google account or the Gemini 2.5, it's called advanced for some reason. But yeah, it's I think I think it's actually free now to hook it up into the Gemini 2.5. So it kind of reads through the email and makes summaries. So it's just like all of these things, like I was talking about on my 404 Found newsletter last time I posted there, was I think we're not far from the reality that there's going to be just like no user interfaces and it's just going to be all like personalized creations. When you open up so-called website, it's just going to like turn into whatever they think that you like or you have given preferences to, like no more light modes ever and whatnot. So I think the fluid or liquid UI is coming pretty soon. But yeah, it's very interesting to see how the pace of these tools are just like think about 2 years ago. We waited for like half a year, was it 8 months to get the GPT 3? from 2.5. So it just, now they're like coming up with new tools and stuff like every day. It's a crazy time to be alive.
Did you use any of the, remember Dolly, the image generator? I mean, what was that? Maybe two.
Yeah, Dolly, and then the what was the there was the other one that then became something else. But yeah,
Well, the one that turned into Journey.
I can't remember. It's so. It's
I
2
still
years
use
ago.
I still use Chat GPT connected to Dolly to generate my images.
Yeah, and that's it's pretty good. But there's like those image creation tools there, like, and like the Opus Clip. Now that you can just dump your long form videos and it will just clip the viral things out of those for you for just like no effort.
And now we can use them to generate, videos and short clips too. So you can use like Sora or something like that from various tools, and it'll just create an image and then a flyby or a GIF or something directly from them. So yeah, it's crazy what we have available now.
Yeah,
And not even to mention, and I don't see Ross on, but like Pixio from Tech in Schools, from AI Tutor. Oh man, that thing's blowing away everything.
yeah, and John Nosta came out with an article which is pretty interesting, unlocking the future of thought through the cognitive age. I don't know if anybody's got a chance to read through that, but it's pretty interesting. I push back a lot. There was so who was the guy that he was a consultant with Google and some of the other big powerhouses, but a lot of these people talk about AI as becoming its own, like it's the end point. And I just don't believe it. I think that, without human, we've all used these LLMs, and without our human input, there would be no output. So the idea that it becomes this thing that's detached from humans and on its own and becomes its own thing is I don't know. I'm pushing back against that. Do you have any thoughts on that, Timo
Well,
or Andy?
yeah, so think of it this way. Originally you had DARPA, which has created the internet, which was a bunch of places you could go find stuff to read. And that paradigm was replaced by the search engines. Google won that race. And so then people think the internet, well, originally they thought it was AOL. Then it became Google. Now Google has won that place. The next step is, instead of going to, the internet, to most people is you open a browser, you go to Google, it's either Google or email, and then Google, you can find whatever you're looking for. What maybe you should think of it this way, that instead of going to Google or even going to your email, eventually you're going to go to your own personal chatbot and say, give me my last, my unopened emails, and it'll list them for you and go, okay, answer them this way, this way, this way, this way. Okay, send them. Okay, now I need to find some information on some other thing. And it's not that we're replacing the internet, we're replacing the interface that we as humans use to get access to this billions and billions of pages. That, I think that's a better way to kind of think of it. I think that's what they're talking about too, by the way.
Yeah, that was the idea of my that article, that the user interface of like a static screen will be gone. And I was actually in a space with Scoble the other night, and he was talking about that one of his theories is that actually the big showdown will be Google versus Apple, and it's going to be on like smart glasses that's going to turn into like your HUD of internet and knowledge that just can feed stuff through your hearing bones, through the frames, and then just like video everything and show everything on your glasses. So that was his prediction for even as as near as to like 5 years when this battle of the behemoth will be happening. That was his theory. I was supposed to say something, but I hadn't. I have a brain fog right now, so I'll get back to it. It was something about what you were just, Johnny, you were just talking about
But
before.
so in other words, so you get a lot of people who are thought leaders who are saying that AI is going to be the end. It's the end game. But I don't believe that
Oh,
that
now remember. Now,
yeah, okay.
yeah, if I can just hop on here, the idea that my theory actually is when we think about like social media and content on the internet and what these thought leaders and whatever uh, who people follow and are interested, who are talking their views and whatnot. I think the when it comes to like content creation and using AI and any like job that can be enhanced with AI, I think the actual end game will be somewhere in the realm of now. If you think about YouTube videos, blog posts, whatever content is out there, anyone can basically just claim to be a thought leader or a guru and just like copy the ones that are actually good and just do research and then just reframe their thoughts and whatever. But with AI, those actual like people who actually know what they're talking about and what kind of content they're pushing out on whatever platform, it's gonna be so uh, far out more intelligent and better that the end of like the copycat era will be dying, because those people who have been just copying it cannot comprehend anymore what's happening on the like the higher level content, so they're just gonna diminish away. And I can't wait for that to happen, really.
Jason, what would you like to add to this conversation?
Okay, so I the talking about the end game. So I'm kind of I in my head I have there's two branches. So we reach AGI, so general intelligence, and we spawned off the next race of humans, and eventually it like just becomes its own thing and uh like almost out matures. That's one branch that I could see. The other one is that AI is kind of like limited to the capacity that it's, I mean, similar to what it is now, but it's just going to get better and more accurate. But we'll also be able to put in like robotics and make robots have, where you can actually do things that are in the 3D world and not just, I don't know, just right now we're kind of trapped with AI being trapped in thought, but we'll add on the extra component so that you can just really have this like give humans the capacity to just create, and it's like whatever you can think about, it can just go out and you can build it, and it's like humans eventually are just pumping out ideas, and then we have all the infrastructure to make it work. That that's kind of my two mental utopias I see going.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the human element, though, like one, I guess I'm an optimistic and maybe a little bit of a dreamer, but the idea of that without the human, you can't have the output. The idea that the AI is going to start generating the output is I don't I think that even if it becomes, it's just going to enhance the people that are able to have access to it, and their ideas are going to be vetted and torn apart and reformatted, but it still has to have the human input to create an output. I don't see how it will bypass that step. So I think it's always a collaboration. I'd love to hear your opinion, Jason, and Timo and Andy and Star.
So I think we can algorithm when we define consciousness in like you can put AI into a robot. I kind of feel like you can algorithmically make maybe it's not true consciousness, but a simulated one. So you could give it the ability to have like free random thoughts and agency to make its own decisions, and then also hopefully will, like, AI is already trying to be self-improve through interaction. So I think for me, those three things kind of give the ability to have a little bit of free thought and also ability to problem solve and learn from mistakes, things like that. So where am I going with that? I don't know. I kind of lost my train of thought.
I mean, they have not defined consciousness. You cannot quantify consciousness. You can't measure consciousness. So the idea, like, I think it's a kind of a bit of a pie in the sky leap that these things, I mean, there are going to be people selling you that, yeah, it's conscious, and probably most people will buy it if it can do cool tricks, but it's still going to need a human to put input into it. Whether it's sold as something that does it or not, I don't really see that leap happening anytime soon. I don't see any evidence of it now. I mean, there might be, if you have multiple agents working against each, or like fighting with each other to come up with something novel, that might happen just out of luck. But we talked about this the other day. You still need a human to identify something novel and say, ah, that's valid, that has merit. You can't leave these things on their own to do that, because it could go sideways so fast. You'd have no, you know, it'd be crazy. If, I don't know if you get what I'm saying, Timo, or then Jason. Did I lose you?
No. So I don't know. So sometimes I think as humans we can be a little bit too what I'm trying to think of the right word, like self-righteous, or like we don't give other things we don't give other things the benefit of the doubt that they can have as much cognitive ability as us, so we kind of downgrade it. So I kind of think that sometimes it could be just a perception thing, and right. So I don't know, but yeah, I'll let Star Killer say something.
Star Killer or Timo?
Hey,
And Andy?
yeah, and Andy. I was a listener. I was a good listener for the past week. Like, I listened to the whole interview sessions. I have a lot of thoughts. I had a lot of pushback, but those days are over. John, would you say that this argument, though, the one where it will need the output and might not be self-sufficient, would you say that this is not what you're saying? Also, would you say that it might not always be true just because it's true right now? Just curious.
Yeah, absolutely. Everything can change. I can fall on my face to be totally wrong, but I just don't see, currently in the state that things are today, you do need to put in the input. It cannot run autonomously and come up with, as far as I know. Now, the reality is that everyone says that the public sees what the military sees, 20 years behind the fact. So there might be something that totally discredits what I'm saying. But I think, and we were having a conversation the other day, like, if something novel comes up, at this point they're not in robots, they're in cars, but they're not in things that are engaging with the real world. You cannot, for what a lot of people have said, you cannot take one of these robots and throw it into an unfamiliar situation and expect it to learn and to grow like a child would. It just doesn't have that capacity to do that. So I think that, I mean, there's a lot of cool science fictions. We're definitely at a place we didn't think we would be 2 years ago. And so we're extrapolating that what the future might bring. But I still, you know, currently the idea that these things are going to come up with their own rational thoughts that are going to do anything productive, and they don't need human oversight, just doesn't seem realistic.
Yeah, I think the idea of rational thought implies a human brain, So I don't know if you're going to be able to do that. However, I have LLMs that seek out and search news articles every day and give me input and check things and provide inputs. But those are just, that's just me setting a trigger to say, okay, go, here's a question, go find the answer. And here's the parameters. Again, it's me asking it to do something, and then it's just giving me the answers. I don't know if it's ever going to get to the point where it will imagine its own parameter of something to check. You know what I'm saying? It's like without, okay, in any type of computer system, we have to give the application or the program an objective. You're going to achieve this thing, and you're going to do these steps to achieve it. I don't think that the LLMs are going to get to the point where they can proactively create or imagine new or different steps than have already been presented to them as a method in order to achieve whatever objective it is. We're still going to have to give that, like if we said, navigate this car from here to that point over there, it will identify all of the permutation of ways and methods and then calculate tactically what needs to happen as it rolls every inch through the space. But here's the thing, it's never going to know that I need to get my mother-in-law to a medical appointment at 10 o'clock. So therefore, I have to go and roll time backwards to say I need to leave at this time. I need to prepare the car. I need to unhook from the charger. I need to roll forward. I need to go to this location until they get in the car. All the doors are closed. All the things are locked and plugged. And then we continue with the journey, the next 4 or 5 steps. I don't know if it's going to do that. It can do one of those steps. It can take me from here to her house. And then when I tell it to, it'll take me from her house to the doctor's office and then return. But it's not going to be able, I'm not going to be able to say, at least at the moment, maybe in the future, but at least in the moment, I can't say, I've got to get to the grocery store, pick up these things to get it back. It's not going to do it's not going to prepare all the necessary activities that we do as humans naturally, automatically, that we think we're not very good at. But if you start programming every single step it takes to do that, it is a massive amount of information and decisions. And to accomplish the end result, which is I need a gallon of milk, if you just give a LLM system a objective, give me a gallon of milk, there's about 100 ways to do it. We just think the best way is to get in the car, drive down to the store, buy some, bring it home. It may order it on Amazon, have it delivered. Who knows? There's always more ways to solve the problem than that. But the idea that it's going to create its own set of objectives and then build in the most optimum path of each one of those steps, that's right now, that's outside the capabilities of what we currently have. Who knows if, the military has stuff that does that, but that's kind of outside the realm we have at the moment.
And the problem is the reality of all of this is gonna plateau at some point because of data. We cannot produce data enough fast for them, even though we do a lot of that, but we can't feed them like important data. Like Amazon orders are not important data on LLM LLM fine tuning.
Yeah, the other, it's a great point, Timo. Here's the other thing. Computer systems operate by a specific set of logical constructions or a logical construct. When you say cycle through all of the permutations from 1 to 100, it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and it goes all the way through every step logically so that it can count them, keep track of them, and order them, right? That's the way computers are designed and built, and they do that thing faster and better than any human. However, here's what it can't do, what Timo just said. It can't go from 1 to, I know the pattern, 3, 4, 5. I jumped to 25. Okay, I got the pattern, jumped to 90. okay, just do the last 10. As a human, we're satisfied with that answer. A computer system would not be, and would go back and say, did I miss anything? And we program them to do that because that's the way that we use them. Like if we're using it to plow a field, you want to plow every single inch, not just most of it, right? And so then we programmatically build the tools and the systems to hit every single inch, maybe multiple times, to ensure that we've got everything done. And computer systems are going to learn from our use of them. How did we use the computers to solve our previous problems? And they're going to use that same information to create the algorithms and the sequences or methods to get to the solving the objectives in the future. Because just remember, this is the basic fact. An LLM cannot come up with anything new. Every single thing you see or you read was written or created by somebody else. And the LLM is just really good at searching through the billions of data sets and pulling out the most likely solution. And it's really good at that. And it's better than humans at it. But it's still finding something that somebody else wrote.
Yeah, and what you said about...
I'm going to have to go. But hey, thank you so much. I'm going to listen for the next few minutes and then I'll go. Okay, Timo, back to you.
Yeah, the what you said about rational thinking, like rational thinking is just a human paradigm on like doing certain thought processes in certain way. And I probably have told it before, but I was in a local science museum here, and you could compete against an AI on kind of like a old fair where you threw balls into a thing and you could score points and the horse would move on like a racetrack, and you could actually battle out with an AI, but just by pushing buttons, either the red one or the green one. And the AI, if it guessed yours, it could move, and if it didn't, your thing or your horse would move on the racetrack. And like it had won like thousands of times against humans because we are just so stuck on our patterns. And even though we think we're just super random, there's still patterns that computers can actually like recognize super fast, like how you're thinking on which is gonna be, like if you think about it, it's a 50-50 guess, but it understands the patterns of your mind and your rational thinking. Like now it's not gonna guess this one, but it does because you already like gave it away in like the first 5 clicks. But yeah, I'm kind of having to fade out too. So great space, good topics. We probably didn't get past the news before the conversation, but this was a good one. Thanks, guys. I do also have to fade down to just listening mode.
Thanks, Timo.
Yeah, some days we go, we stay on point with the news, and other days things just come along. So, Star and then Jason.
Hey, yeah, and I'm on my walk. I made it back to my area in Mexico, so that's going well. I did have some things I wanted to say though, and it looks like you always catch me in a windy spot. So why don't we go Jason first?
All right, Jason, what would you like to add?
Yeah, so I did see where or someone told me about a company called Neo Robotics or something with Neo Robots. They're starting to allow people to maybe start putting the robots in their home for like training purposes. So, right. So, in essence, the robots are going to have a heuristic of things to do, but right now they don't really have a way to like know the nuances of human things. So, I think you start out given a heuristic, and then once they get the capability to adjust their own heuristics based on what's correct or incorrect, and you can kind of tell an AI that like self-learning is just going to unlock like the full potential of AI, and it'll be almost hardware limited about how quick they can learn. And I'll give it this other scenario that, let's say we create a simulation video game that lets you put the robot intelligence with like a world of physics that pretty well constrains them to real life, because we can do that pretty well now with video games. There are some really realistic feeling ones, but not 100%. But the AI is not going to care, and then you pay people to interact with it inside of the AI, and you can just keep putting it through scenarios so that it just learns, and you can do that really quickly because you can just throw 1,000 AIs doing the same thing, and the feedback can all roll up to grow on the singular thing. So I just think the self-learning, whenever it gets that capability, it's just going to be really hard to slow it down, especially because simulations are cheaper to run than real life. Humans, our evolution, we've had to go through generations of DNA mixing, and just our head rewires really slow, especially when we're trying to learn new things or rewire a muscle memory. But a robot chip can rewrite it immediately, and it's just like cemented in there. I don't know. I just think machines are superior once we unlock the right things on it. So I'll end there.
Can you define self-learning?
So what? So I'll use a scenario like when you're learning how to cook and you're looking at the stove and you don't know that it's hot, but you put your hand on the stove when the burner's red. I'm going to use like an old scenario. Then and you get burnt. So after that point, you then realize that when it's red, it's hot. You're not going to put your hand there. So in essence, the AI would be able to make that mistake and then change its kind of like series of actions based on something that happened to it previously. So something like that. It's like you have a heuristic, and then it can rewrite its own heuristic based on feedback.
Yeah, I'm surprised that they don't have better systems where they can kind of just observe you do things and then make a workflow out of that. But then again, like there's a saying, like, go get me a cup of coffee, and the robot puts its hand through somebody to get the cup of coffee just because it doesn't know the basic nuances of human life. And like there's so many things, like that's one thing with people that have trouble reading other people's the 90% of our communications nonverbal. How you know that's not going to be an easy feat to overcome, I think, for these AI models. We'll see. I mean, Tesla is doing, from everything I understand, I don't have a Tesla, but the upgrades are just becoming amazing, and it better and better every time. So I guess if you had a robot in your home and it was directed to observe you and then maybe ask questions or something like that, yeah, maybe in the course of a day it could get the kind of the rules of the family down. Um, but yeah, that would be very interesting. Timo, do you still have your hand up? I'm going off my desktop and it doesn't always read what's going on here in the room. But Star, have you gotten to a place that's not as windy?
Yeah, I mean, it's all right here. Right when I turn around the corner, it will be way less windy. But I just wanted to say it was a really great interview session you did last week. I found myself liking one out of all of them, which was interesting because I just had so much pushback and so much things I wanted to debate about. But you have to realize it's about fresh perspectives, and I really appreciated that. I also wanted to say specifically about this topic, what Andy was saying about makes a lot of sense. Um, and what you were alluding to makes a lot of sense. Kind of this idea of, can AI read my diary and should it? Because if you ask AI personal questions or even things you've experienced, I don't know if you've done this, but you should try it. but ask it if it knows about some unique experience, something only you've witnessed and a few other friends. And it will tell you, well, there's no evidence for this, because it really is truly doing what John and Andy are saying. It's going off of the text it's been trained on, and something somebody's already wrote, whether or not it's code or real life. So I just wanted to add that.
I'm super interested to hear what you wanted to push back on last week. And sometimes I'm a, I don't know if I'm always the best host here, but I just like to hear your perspective on the things, if you can remember any of the things that you were wanting to push back on. And yeah, don't hold yourself back just because sometimes I'm opinionated, space overlord that seems a little dogmatic doesn't mean that you can't push back on me. I mean, I don't care. Everything's fair game as far as I'm concerned. There's no thin skin here, and there's no rules to a certain degree.
Yeah, sure. Just got into my house. Let me check my phone battery. 3%. That's always great. So the one thing I liked was GP a lot. Let me start with what I really liked. I know GP is a fun speaker, really entertaining, and he's really honest too. That's what I appreciate about GP. And if you want to ask him things more geopolitical, you can always dive into that and with him. He knows how to maintain a certain level of professionalism. That's why I liked him the most out of the interviewees. Now, the one I did want to push back on was the one who was speaking about artists and how the cream always rises to the crop in industry. Well, I actually don't know if this is necessarily true. If Elon Musk is one in a million, or even let's say he's one in a billion, there are still either 1,000 or 7 Elon Musks in this world, but we all only know Elon Musk. And we also know, like, when CEOs, like, I'm forgetting his name, but he ended up becoming like the Google AR glasses, or the Oculus Meta CEO. He he made a few good points, but the interviewer wasn't convincing to me that the cream always rises to the crop, or some people know some things necessarily that other people at lower stages don't know. So I still think in this world, um, there are geniuses out there who probably could be doing the same level as things Elon Musk is doing, but we don't currently have the landscape to make that true. And I think the same thing goes for music. Like, the music I appreciate or the music I like often isn't my friend's favorite, or people that if you I don't know if this is true for everyone, but maybe just for creatives. If you ask them what music they like or what they listen to, it will maybe be something you've never even heard of. And that's what I think is true about most life. Most people can involve themselves with some sort of like celebrity idea, or success, fame comes with success, or uh, the cream always rises to the crop. But I would also like to think that there are real capable humans out there who will rise to the crop, and I hope AI has advantages to this, versus um, being a weeding system of who is capable and who isn't. If you understand what I mean.
Yeah, 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 I was it was interesting to me. I'm near Coachella, and they said that this year, like, the most interest is now digital music, more than R&B, more than alternative rock was the second one, which is kind of surprising. But yeah, it's back in the day, everybody dreamed to be a rock star. I don't think so much anymore. But with the internet came a whole bunch of bifurcation of interests, and we didn't, we got rid of with what was that, Napster. A lot of people I knew that were in the music industry that were making money weren't making money anymore. So it's going to be interesting, I think, with AI, in terms of everybody being to create everybody starting to have an ability to, at different levels, to create their own sasses, their own tools that can solve problems. I mean, that's what I'm doing. I'm creating tools that solve my problems, and I'm working on things that I can get out to market. But who knows, when you get something out to market, if it's going to be now available to be done on any platform by anything, in maybe not in an agentic way, but somebody who tries a little harder can do that. So I think that's a lot of things that we're going to find out over the next couple of years in terms of what all this means to each of us, society, businesses, jobs, selling things. What does that mean? All of a sudden now everybody can be a country music singer if they want to go to AI and put their voice in and say, hey, sing me a song about my dog dying in the springtime, or whatever. Yeah, I guess that can, and then you can have an avatar that entertains you all day that looks just like you if you're a total narcissist. Probably can happen, probably happens now, who knows. But yeah, then where do we, but I mean, in the end, this goes back to that other conversation. I don't know if there is going to be an AI that is going to be the endpoint. In other words, is AI out of its own going to create something that grabs the imagination of humans and creates the ultimate AI entertainment channel? I don't think so. But then again, if it gets to know everything, back to Timo's point, you could be going on the computer at some point. The reality could be that you could have an experience with your computer or your phone or whatever that simulates some reality that doesn't even exist. But based on your patterns, it will be the most seductive, crazy ass thing that you've ever dealt with that you can't take your eyes away from, and it'll be like TikTok times a trillion. And then it's like, don't look in their eyes, because once you do, your soul is captured and you're done for. That could be a reality. I don't know. But now we're really going off the deep end. So I don't know. I think that's my sign that maybe we should move this on till tomorrow. If everybody has would like to say some last words, and then we'll close up shop and we'll see everybody here tomorrow. Wednesday is always the busiest day for some reason. I did some data research and I looked at, for some reason, people really show up here on Wednesday. So tomorrow's Wednesday. So bring your A game, bring some questions, and we might have a special speaker. I'm not sure right now. But Star or Jason or Timo, would you like to say some last words before we close the show?
Yeah, awesome. Great week. Do another interview week, once a month, maybe. That was awesome because when you really get into, I like taking the listener seat sometimes and listening to what, people have to say. And when you really get into someone's pursuits and passions, it becomes, it's like its own news cycle. And yeah, I wonder if AI can read the diary. I'm going to have to write that down and see if I can develop that as a theme.
And Star, what if we have you as a special guest one day and you play some of your? Are you able to play your music during a space? Have you tried that? Does it work?
I have the wide spectrum mode is okay, but apparently there's other apps where it's better. But for Twitter, I'm not sure. I think we're gonna have to do it with wide spectrum mode, unfortunately. But I'll try to test it to make sure it's nice.
Okay, well, I'll send you a DM. Maybe we can keep on track. Maybe we won't. Maybe that'll be the fun of it. Jason, everybody, he is the head of our Discord server. Please reach out to him. And Jason, if you want to say a word or two, this is recorded. The majority of people that listen to this space listen to the recording. So if you say something now, it's going to go out to more people than that are just here. Is there anything like you would like to add about what you're doing? What you're finding interest in, or any of those subjects?
Yeah, so right now I'm very interested in vector databases and trying to make a kind of like a complementary image of a relational database and have it vectorized. That's my current look for anyone that has experience for that. So, but to mention a little bit about the Discord server, there is. I'll post the link onto the comment section even after it's closed, just so you can kind of look it up later. But we have a separation where it's business minded people, investors, and also developers, and we're just trying to build a tight knit community. That way, if we have ideas or we want to build things, then we have resources we can reach out to that we're familiar with. So be sure to pick your role that you're kind of aligning yourself with currently, and you can always go back and change it later. But yeah, so I'll post it later in the comment section.
Thank you, Jason. Yeah, and I highly recommend, if you're a dev, reach out to myself or Jason and get the link for the Discord server. And it's a group of people that know what they're doing, and you really get a lot out of it. Timo, is there anything you'd like to end the show with, or you got your hands full? All right, I think Timo's busy. He's at work, or he's got the family or something going on. Well, I like to thank everybody who came here today. The space is really all about the people that show up and share what they're thinking and what they're doing. It's good to see Arthur here, as well as Manakana Mano Kama. You come here regularly all the time, and sometimes maybe grab the mic. Love to hear what you have to say. Lloyd, it's great to see you, as well as Meta Rides and Miss. Let's see, we got somebody who's going to wants to Lloyd wants to grab the mic. So Lloyd, we're about closing up. Is there anything specific you want to talk about?
Did you just ask me a question? If not, it cut out.
Yeah, we're closing up right now. We're going to close up a little early today. I got stuff to do and everything. But if there's anything you'd like to say before we close up shop, let me know.
No, I just came from an interesting conversation about coding and whether or not it was real programming. It was really it was really funny. Um, but
What's
but
your experience with coding?
well, I've been dealing with computers since I was 5. I started off on a TRS-80 from Radio Shack. I don't know if you guys remember that computer. Uh, but when it comes to leveraging AI to code, um, I think it's incredible. Is it perfect? No. Like, can you generate? There's levels of complexity to programs that you can generate with AI right now. And actually, it's actually better than my last experience of doing it. But I think I can actually imagine it being getting to a point where you won't even have to know how to program. And some people don't believe that that's going to be true, but I think that future is going to be here a lot sooner than we think. I mean, I definitely think it'll be before 2030. Well, you won't have to know how to program. But I think it's not about creating a program that you sell because everybody's going to have the same ability. I think it's about creating programs that you're going to be utilizing for yourself or for your business. That way you don't have to go subscribe to somebody else's software that may or may not serve your needs. You can actually have AI generate the program that you need, what you think you need, or with the feature set that you want to use that works the way that you want it to work. And I think we're all going to have custom software because of AI, and AI is going to be able to um, personalize things in a way that we could have never imagined before. That's where I think things are going.
So if we extrapolate that, what does the world look like then? I mean, because I did a little research and I found that maybe 95% of the world are consumers and about 5% are creators in any time of anything. So, in other words, like even if people have the ability to do these things to solve problems, the majority of them aren't. They need to have it presented to them. It
Well, I think but I think most of that presentation is going to be done through AI to some form, right? So, like, even if you're not someone that's leveraging AI to create, I think AI is probably still going to be do a fair share of your curation. You're going to tell AI what you want. Let's say you want a pizza, and based on your maybe order history, or maybe your taste, it's going to decide where you should get pizza from based on the information that it has for you. It's going to do your curation for you. So even if you don't do creation, it's going to do your creation, as far as what services that it use, what information, where it sources information for you. Like, all that stuff is happening. So AI is that, it's one of those things that it's a useful tool, whether you're a creator or whether you're just a consumer. It's still very, very useful. And it has the ability to impact your life and make your life
a lot better, a lot simpler, and also give you the ability to do more, no matter what capacity that you're going to leverage it. So that's the thing. Like it doesn't really matter what which one of those areas you are. The question, the problem is it's going to be there, and so as a creator, the things you have to kind of think of, so much of the same way, when it came to like website and content creation, you had to think about SEO. You have to think about how you're going to position yourself so that people who are looking for you, that they're whatever AI that they're using, whatever AI software or whatever, or agent that they're using, it's going to be able to leverage you and what you created to bring that to your end user. And I think it's going to be more about, for lack of a better term, AI optimization than search engine optimization going forward.
So I have a long history doing digital marketing SEO, as do you. I'm using AI on a regular basis. And so I'm doing things now preparing for the future for clients. Be working on making more authority, uh and broadening search scope and a bunch of other things. Where what Because if you're doing SEO well, you're building today for the future, because the puck's going to constantly change, algorithms are going to change, things are going to change, everything changes online, nothing stays constant. So you have to have that in mind when you do anything. So without giving away your secret sauce or what have you, what are you doing things now with AI that you see will have an effect as things go to glasses and people are going to connect to the internet in different ways? Or is that too far out of the scope and you're just doing you're not going you're not going that far ahead?
I think, well, i- in my opinion, this is just my opinion. Quality of content has always mattered more than quantity anyway. And to a certain degree, they had adjusted the search engines to reflect so. So, you always want to have the best quality possible, want to be as informative as possible, right? But the issue that we're going is, as information becomes more and more repetitive, your voice might not necessarily have the authority going forward as it once did. But there is an area that matters still, and that's when you look at reviews. What a customer experience has been when it comes to leveraging your product and your service. So I think the reviews as being an authority will still be a thing even once AI is, becomes the primary driver of how you get customers and how you get results and how people find your service. And so, having that relationship or building those relationships where you get customers that are willing to give some type of testimonial of of their experience utilizing your product and your service is still going to be very important, because when it comes to anything, customer confidence is still part of that battle of securing a customer. Is you want to have, like, doing business with you should not feel like a gamble to a customer. It shouldn't be something that they feel like they're taking a risk. They should know what they expect. And part of knowing what to expect when a person doesn't know is looking at your reviews and looking at kind of like your history per se, right? So I kind of go towards that.
So I work with attorneys and dentists and people in those fields as well as others. And one of the things I noticed with AI is that they're starting to use like WebMD a lot as an authority, because when you go to AI, you can say, "How did you get this answer? How give me the citations?" Blah blah blah. And so they'll go to these sites which are kind of considered authoritative sites, but like WebMD's got a lot of gobbledygook on it. Not all doctors are on it. So there's a few that throw all kinds of stuff in it. I believe that in the long run, Google reviews have a much better track record in terms of authenticity and to figure out spam. So one thing I'm doing is I'm like beefing up schema code on the about page and then making sure that clients, if they've written papers, if they include anything, like, you got to do kind of an exhaustive interview with people, because people forget, they think things aren't important. So I'm trying to do everything I can to build up their about page as to be a real relevant bibliography that has more points, data points connected to other things which are considered real, authoritative pieces. And that's how I believe it will be able to stand out as we get closer to full AI, and just creating an architecture within the website or whatever that goes to other places that might not be used as authoritative links, but now I'm definitely juicing them up as much as possible.
You know who used to have more authority than Google, but they kind of fumbled it by, kind of gatekeeping to a certain degree, and they allowed Google to kind of take that space? Yelp reviews. Yelp reviews was like had a super high authority, and when it comes to like as far as credibility, but because they did so much gatekeeping on reviews and treating it like a commodity, they allowed Google to come and kind of take their place in that regard. So that was a way that they fumbled. But I mean, having an about page, and having something thorough written on all your pages isn't a bad thing. But also keep in mind we are also dealing with LLM, and what they do is they generate, and so whatever you write, they're just going to summarize for the customer anyway. So it's gonna put it in its own words. It's not going to read everything verbatim. It's going to be looking for specific things, whatever those things may be. And so those are the kind of things to kind of keep in mind. Like, and so it's almost like, I think at some point it's just going to be a database of of in your case it'd be a database of dentists, a database of doctors and lawyers, and depending on how things are written is going to decide whether or not that is the person for you. And almost I was thinking almost kind of like it would kind of work to the same way as it would do. I used to be music suggestions, where it would kind of suggest things based on people who have your same taste. Based on the people that kind of seem to have the same type of things that going on that you have going on. And I think that's where it's gonna kind of go. At least I think the system that wins is gonna have those capabilities where it's gonna suggest things based on people who have similar things as you.
Yeah, well, it also branded searches. If you get, you have a company that's Google a lot, that has a lot of effects on it as well. All right, well, I'm gonna head out. I've got a lot of work to do, and it's thank you, Lloyd. I think that it'll be interesting to see where we are at the end of 2025. 2025 is going to be recognized as a big year of change with AI and how it's bringing, everybody starting to use it. I mean, everybody here on X. And I think by the end of the year, it's going to start to become something, more accepted within the, the larger culture. And, by 2030, it's going to, I'm sure it's going to be inundated into everything. But it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. So thank you, Lloyd. Thank you, Arthur. Thank you for everybody for holding in there. And I'm going to call it a day, and we will see